Hey guys, it's Brian from Thunder Ridge Bison, and lately we've been getting a lot of questions on how we take our animals from there to your plate. So today what we decided to do is do a little bit of a 4-part video series with our buddy Brent from Herrington's Quality Butchers in Port Perry, and we're going to take those animals and show you how they actually get broken down so they're ready for your table. So stay tuned. This is Thunder Ridge.
So we're going to start with the front quarter here. We're going to take off the shank. We're going to cut the brisket. We're going to cut the neck and blade into its primal muscles. There's the foreshank that we just pulled off. The reason I removed that like so is just because we have a smaller bandsaw here and it doesn't quite fit all the way through. Ready, here we go. Perfect. So that's the whole chuck. So what I'll do with this is we're going to keep some really nice pieces of short ribs. I think those would be a really nice piece to keep off there. Maybe some boneless blade, which is a really good roast. I love that one as well. So we're going to trim these all up and make them look beautiful for something that people would want to take home and put in their own kitchen. Okay, so we're just going to trim this up here. Get rid of some of the undesirable pieces on top. These are the feather bones, part of the vertebrae, that are nice, commonly referred to as prison shanks, eh? When we're working, sometimes the more dangerous things are hidden bones and stuff like that. They have a tendency to get you more than your knife. Didn't you say, Jeremy?
Absolutely, yeah. They always seem to leave more of a mark.
Yeah. Perfect. So we're going to take off all this stuff on the outside, and each Jeremy and I have a bone bucket here in front of us, and these animals, like everything in every butcher shop, nothing goes to waste. We do everything in our power to try to not waste anything at all, and even when it comes to the waste, it has a lot of uses. It usually gets picked up by rendering companies. They use that, I think it's for artificial fertilizer more than anything, right? They grind it down and they have uses for all that kind of stuff. Some people like to take the bones, make stock and soup, which is really wildly popular. Bone broth, exactly, yeah. Okay. So this is the blade right here, and we're actually going to remove this part of the blade bone right in the middle of it here, the shoulder blade. One of the things that I've noticed, I'm sure you agree with me here, Jer, when we're cutting up this bison, the bones are hard.
Very hard.
Very, very hard. I did a lot harder than beef.
Yeah. Unless it was an older cow or something.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. And one of the things that I did learn is that for a bison to reach full maturity, Brian, you said I believe it's 8 years?
Yeah.
8 years before an animal is fully grown. So with your domestic beef, it'd be, how long would you be, Jeremy? Would you be 18 months maybe?
24 would be like full age, I believe.
Yeah, so that's due to the fact that they're just not as domesticated, right? It's just more of its, probably 8 years would be more the natural way of,
Just a slower growing animal.
that's a lot of it, yeah. So this is really nice. This animal here has actually got a nice bit of fat in it here. So right in the middle of it here, I'm just gonna pull out some of that fat. Just some, not too much, because you want keep all that beautiful flavor and tenderness right in the middle of it. I actually heard Jeremy cringe when I said pull out the fat.
Not much there.
There's not much there. So there's the full finished blade. And what we're going to do now is I'm just going to put some string around the outside of it just to keep it really nice and uniform. Thanks, Brian. So the string's going to nicely hold it all together. And one of the things that as a consumer people need to understand is that you should always carve a roast in the same direction that it's tied. So when the strings are going this way across the roast, when you're at home and you're carving it, you should be carving it in that same direction that the strings go.
Why is that, right?
Well, generally we're tying this.
Is there like grains?
There's exactly what it is. There's grains in the meat. Now you can kind of see right here with this blade roast, the grains are running this way. So we're tying it against the grain. So when you go home, you're going to cut beautiful slices off steak roast or whatever it is that you're enjoying. The fibers will be nice and short. If you were to cut it this way, the fibers would be very long. And the nice short fibers are exactly what you need to make it that much more enjoyable on the palate. And one of the first things you learn when you're butchering is how to tie a knot. And I remember that vividly, Jer. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. A lot of bad ones.
A lot of bad ones. One of the first experiences that I had with one of the mentors that I had growing up in the butcher industry is I would tie a full roast and he would wait till I was done and then he would take his boning knife and cut them all and say, now do it right. And as much as I was angry, I did appreciate why he was doing it.
That looks like it just also makes it uniform for cooking as well.
Exactly right. One of the things in retail, people buy with their eyes first. You eat with your eyes first. If you walk into a spot to buy a meal, even prepare something for a meal, it has to look good. The place has to smell good. You eat with your mouth for sure, but you eat with your eyes and your nose first. Because even when you're cooking it at home, it needs to smell appealing. So as we're going through this whole animal today, Jeremy and I have this is the way we have done it ourselves. It doesn't necessarily mean it's right or it's wrong. It's just the way we do it. It's exactly right. We also try to keep in mind of what's going to work the best for what Brian needs.
Value of the animal.
Okay, so now we've got that nice finished blade. Just face it up a little bit there and cut that about so you end up with that absolutely gorgeous looking little bit of marble throughout. Beautiful dark purpley kind of color that bison is. This has got it does, it really does. There's nothing to this but natural grass-fed bison in its own environment. That's beautiful stuff, that is. So now we've got the center of the chuck here. I'm just going to remove the chuck short ribs off the top. Probably one of my favorite meals ever. I love short ribs when they're done up nice, cooked up, low and slow. They just fall off the bone. Big, big, big flavor.
Our problem is there's only so many of them in one bite.
Well, that's the thing.
That's right.
That's actually, I'm glad you said that, Brian. That's a huge point. One of the things that people don't understand, and as you'll see when we're working, somebody wants, 5 pounds of chuck short ribs. Well, that's the entire chuck short rib of that whole side of bison. So if you need more than that, we actually have to go into another side of bison.
sometimes that's the struggle for us, is that just when stuff's not mass produced, you only have so much stuff, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. I'm going to keep a little bit of that there. It's a nice little bit of bone. It's got a bit of meat on it. That would make some beautiful, beautiful soup. So out of the rest of this chuck here, we're just going to remove some undesirables and create some really nice stew.
So what is it out of the different cuts that make something more tender than the other? Or?
The best way for us to answer that question, Brian, is how much and in what manner each muscle is used.
The more use the muscle has, the tighter it will be, the tougher it will be.
For example, right here in the center of this chuck, this is a good time to bring that up actually. This is a large series of small muscles, all brought together by this connective tissue, this sinew. There's some glands and fat in the center of this. That's part of cooking. This would be that a little bit more difficult to make it. It does have a big flavor if it's done properly, but it does need to take a bit of love when you're cooking it. Basically all we need is stew, so I'm not going to get too into everything. We just want to remove the things like the silver skin in the middle of this. You could cook that for a week and that'll never break down. So.
Yeah.
But we're finding more and more as people are like at home and they're kind of getting into cooking, or they're paying attention a little bit more to their health and stuff, that they're coming in and asking for different things like that. But I don't always have the answers, so that's what I'm always calling you.
Yeah, and that's great. And I love that people are A, cooking more, B, asking questions. The source of their food is a huge, huge thing. People should always be asking. Sometimes we're in here on a busy day. We start early in the mornings and we get our counters filled up, and even after having a store for 20 plus years and 30 years of cutting meat, my favorite part is still dealing with people who have questions and they're curious about it. The smoking of product, the cooking of different things. What do I need and why do I need it? And if I don't have it, what's a good alternative? Just having that conversation with customers, that's still my favorite part of the day.
And it does seem like smoking's become like more and more people are getting into smoking their foods, right? Like
You brought up smoking. There's a brisket right there.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful for
Awesome.
a smoker for sure.
Nice and lean. Set that on with a nice smoke flavor for, oh, you'd say probably give that at least 12 hours, I would say, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the longer the better. Is that your stew pile, Brent?
That's my stew pile right there, bud. Thanks.
But the bison brisket's so much smaller, than the beef that you're getting.
I'm going to say that might be 4 or 5 pounds, and I've seen beef brisket as big as 12 or 13. It's got a real curve on this shoulder blade here.
Yeah, they're definitely built a little bit different with that big front shoulder.
Quite often with beef, that peels right out. That doesn't want to peel out quite so easily. Any other butchers that were watching this just judged me on that, so you got Awesome. So that's pretty much all going to be stew beef right there once we get everything out of the way here.
Do you guys, like at your store, do you guys sell a lot of stew?
Stew, yeah. It's weird. It's one of those things, you think this past weekend, for example, the weather was nice, the sun was out. We thought, oh, there's no way we're going to sell stew, so we kind of downsized that part, and of course, you run out all the time. It's just the way it is. Just when you think you got it all figured out, everything changes. It is the nature of the business, exactly. You think you got it all figured out,
We're so lucky having Jeremy there at the storehouse. Sometimes on Saturdays, it's just
even to have
we have some versatility in what we have available. Yeah.
have all those questions answered by someone who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And happy to do so. People want faceless, they can go to a faceless place.
I might as well try and cut some of the stew.
Sure. So I know, Brian, one of the things that you guys do at your place as well is meat pies, right?
We do a lot
Yeah. Do you use the ground in your pies, or do you use the steak too?
We've done both, and it seems like people seem to like them both. But generally, I would say more stew style pies.
Right.
Seem
Yeah.
to be the most popular.
So something like this, the nice little small cut piece of steak. It's lean. There's no connective tissue in there. It's just solid muscle. You make that into a wonderful little meat pie.
And it's nice too with us being able to control what goes in there. We're just the best of the best is what we can throw in.
That's
there.
exactly
There's no
right.
Junk and grizzle. But yeah, people seem to really love those meat pies. You guys do a lot here at your store too, right?
Yeah. That's the one thing. I've always been a believer that find one thing and be really, really good at it. So I know Jeremy shares the same mentality that they just do butchering. They just do butchering. And for us, meat pies is kind of a byproduct of butchering. It helps us turn some things that aren't desirable on the counter, so we find a better way to still market it and make people happy. And it's easy.
And like Brian said, you can control what goes into them, so you know that they're
That's
quality.
exactly.
And again, we're so lucky because, Mary and Rob Evans.
Yes. Yep.
So Mary from Evan Hills Farms, she has her own catering business, so she makes all of our meat pies, and just sometimes as fast as she brings them in, they're going back out the door. So.
Yeah. It's a good introduction piece when you've got all the there's a mind-numbing amount of things that you can get out of a whole side. And a lot of times when people say, I really want to try bison, but I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So they always stick with the fail-safes. They've got a bit of stew, they've got ground beef.
Piles of ground.
Yeah, and that's huge even from a point of view of someone who's retailing your bison in a restaurant. Oh, restaurant. Remember those?
Yes. Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID restaurants, exactly. So that's a great way for them, just as a simple bison burger.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says, that's still one of my favorite meals, is a good quality made burger.
I would almost hazard to say it's right up there with steak for me.
100%.
Yeah, a good burger with the right toppings.
That's,
It's
yeah.
a definite go-to.
Yeah. But of course, we three of us have access to the best stuff. So it makes a difference.
We should be spoiled, we're in the industry, that's the whole point.
But I'll tell you, one of the things, as lucky as I was to meet you, and it's the same with dealing with Jeremy and Rob and Mary Evans from their farm. They're kind of doing the same thing too. They're putting a lot of time and effort into their animals. And Mary, when she's cooking, she really cares about the product she's putting out. She does such a fantastic job with her pies too. Like, it's unbelievable. A lot of people travel from long distance just to come get her meat pies.
People have a lot of extra time now. If they find something that they really like and something that's really good for them, and they'll travel for miles just to get it, which is awesome. That, to me, that's the ultimate compliment of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the distance people travel just to come see you and buy your product.
Yeah, and it's the same for us in the store too. Is that it's really not what we do, but it's becoming one of my most favorite things on the weekends. Is just see who's coming in there, and I'm sure the same style of customer that comes here. They're just a little more educated about what they want. They're asking the right questions.
They're not afraid to ask.
And they're not afraid to ask. That's right.
And I love it, and because when people ask questions and they become more educated, an educated consumer will always be a happier consumer.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
The more they know, the more they're going to enjoy what they've got.
Yeah, that's right. Plus, we learn from them too, because they're cooking more and they're trying different things, and then they'll telling us what works for them, and I love it. I really do. So that's the end of that.
That's the end of the chuck that we did there. Jeremy's got some really nice, good, meaty looking soup bones over there to make a really great stock. We've got some really nice stew, our blade, chuck short ribs. Chuck short ribs, you can cut them thick, you can cut them lengthwise for English style. You can cut them really, really thin to do a Korean style or Miami rib. To be honest with you, anyway's great.
Yeah.
But I just like low and slow, and they're beautiful. Yeah.
Now, when you say low and slow, what is low and slow?
We did some at my place. It wasn't bison. We did some beef ones, but what I did is we browned them in a Dutch oven with a bit of garlic and onion. Really nice brown. Get them really good and golden brown. Then we add a little bit of stock and some red wine in a nice cast iron. Put a lid on it, and I put it in the oven, 300 for about 4.5 hours.
Oh yeah.
And just let it go. And then not too much wine because you need to have some for the meal itself.
Yeah.
And then we served it with a really nice truffle mashed potato and some really nice roasted root vegetables, some carrots, and we did parsnips and all kinds of things. And it was just an outstanding meal.
Are
And
these coming out for lunch?
well, yeah, really. Big flavor, great meal. All the time is in the prep. It's a good company meal, so you can do that. And then when your company comes over, you can sit and enjoy some time and banter. And the dinner comes out of the oven and it's all ready to go.
Back when we get to have a company over.
Once again, remember company? Okay, so we're gonna move along here now to our rib.
Hey guys, thanks for following along. I hope you enjoyed the video.
And if you did, make sure to like and subscribe to follow along with the rest of our farm journey. And check out the link below to see the rest of the Farm to Table series.